Right now, I just need you to get real loose. Get comfortable. Grab your loved ones, or grab your love partner. And if you're by yourself, no worries. Just follow after me. Gonna do the two-step and cowboy boots.
Crony making everybody crazy. Welcome back, scholars. We want to look at our first assessment. So let's look at comments on our first assessment. Have to write an essay for Hyatt. Let's look up how to write an essay. Google? Nah, YouTube. I don't want a boring one. Let's watch something funny. Yeah, essay writing funny. Yeah, there we go. What comes up? No. That looks interesting. Let's look at that.
When you first came to this school, we took you on account of a most entertaining essay you wrote about a parrot that belonged to your aunt.
Ah, yes, sir.
Since then, your progress has been disappointing. I have here your exam papers from this year. Let's take a look at the general paper, shall we? Question 1 was, write an essay about perseverance.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember how you began this essay, Suter?
No, sir.
Read this, it'll help.
General paper, final exam, T. Suter, autumn 1980. Subject, perseverance.
Yes, get on with it.
My aunt, who I live with, has a parrot called Perseverance. One day...
Yes, and you proceed to tell exactly the same story you told when you arrived at this school.
Yes, sir.
Here's a slightly different one. History, question 5.
What was notable about the late 50s?
And your answer? My aunt, who I live with, used to have a parrot called 50s, who is now dead. The most notable thing about the late 50s was his enormous appetite. And question 7.
Describe the South Sea bubble and its effect on investment.
Go on.
The South Sea bubble was a large goldfish, and its effects on investment, which was a parrot owned by my aunt, who I live with.
Suter! Do you think I am some sort of cretin? Do you think I haven't noticed? It's with whom I live. My aunt with whom I live, not who I live with.
Okay, maybe we don't quite feel that way about your essays, but here's an example of a generalization of a lot of the essays that I received on Monday. Don't take it personally. This is what I anticipated. And I'm sorry, the screen cut off a piece of it. So if we look at it, parents have power over my life, period. That's your claim. Notice that parents is not capitalized. My parents have legitimacy as they brought me into this world. They have my birth certificate because they are my guardians. Parents also have authority as they are the ones who pay for the house I live in. As it can be seen, parents are the power structure in my life because of their power and authority. End statement. Okay, so for a number of you, this would be a legitimate answer to the question. So, as you saw from my notes, that's not quite where we want to go with this. So we want to analyze what a better answer might look like. So some of the things that you might have seen in my notes. 1, in your topic or thesis statement, what I'm saying is that you need a claim, something that you plan on proving. 2, a plan, how you plan on proving it. And 3, a purpose. So we're going to go over those in the next segment in just a second. The next thing is your evidence. What you might have heard me say a lot is that you need to cultivate and develop it, meaning that your evidence needs to cultivate or build to how or why it proves your thesis. So in this case, none of the statements given actually prove the thesis. They are only statements by themselves. Statements by themselves mean nothing. We have to interpret them and develop them to why. It's all about the thought process that gets us to where we're going. And also, we need to be careful of our grammatical errors. So here's an example of a different way to write that. So let's take a look at the thesis. When I want to go out with my friends, my parents exercise power over me by using their authority and legitimacy and ensure that I am acting in a manner that will keep me safe. This is the topic thesis statement. Notice it has a statement to prove, a plan, how I'll prove it, their legitimacy and authority, and a purpose to keep me safe. Okay, so that's all those pieces of it. So you can find in that the purpose, the plan, and everything else. Why this is important is it tells the reader what you plan on proving, how you plan on doing it, and why they want to read it in the first place. Stop thinking about the papers you're writing as assignments assigned by the teacher that you have to answer. Start thinking of them as you're a professional and you want people to read your work and duplicate your ideas. Because the whole idea is to get your ideas out in the world so people will listen to you. So that's the purpose of your writing. The second is we have to do it in concise words, and we'll go over that a little bit later. So the next thing we want to look at is the body of the paragraph. So the evidence. For instance, when I ask my parents if I can go and play Call of Duty online with my friends, I obey their decisions. While I don't always agree with it, it doesn't go the way I want most of the time, e.g. or ergo. They say no, and it takes away from what I want. I know they have raised 3 other kids and have grown up to be successful. This is in my mind gives them legitimacy. If raising my 3 brothers before me to be successful, they must understand how and know or understand how to parent, and then I am faced with the denial of the situation. I more often than not follow their guidance due to their past success. So in this case, we're looking at a development of why they are legitimate in this situation. And it goes on from there for success. But that's the idea of how we want to develop. Now, this is a simple case, and we can make it more complex. But this gives you an idea of what we're looking for as far as the development, at least at the start. All right, with that quick look, we now want to move on to what we're looking at today, the OPCVL. What in the world is an OPCVL? Hyatt's out of his mind. All right, let's look this up. Here we go. We got. Wait. What was that? What? Yeah, let's check this out.
Hello, I'm Francisco, and this is What? The show where you can actually replay what I say in history class. Today we will review a topic from our class, source evaluation. You may remember that historical sources are leftovers from the past that are interpreted by historians to answer questions. Nonetheless, some sources are better than others. Why? Because people lie, or maybe they don't know what they're talking about, or maybe there's more than one viewpoint on whatever we're talking about. How useful a source is depends on the question you're asking and also on the characteristics of the source itself. First, you need to figure out exactly what your question is asking, and then you need to figure out what your source is actually telling you. Not every question is clear about what it's asking, and not every source gives a direct answer. To look into how useful a source may be to answer a specific question, in our class we use the OPCVL method. OPCVL stands for origin, purpose, content, value, limitations. Now, filling out an OPCVL is not a questionnaire, but I'll give you a few questions to guide you. In Origin, you're supposed to talk about things like, where does the source come from? When was it published or created? Who is the author, producer, creator, etc.? What credentials do they have to produce such a source? Were they actually there when whatever they're talking about happened? How do they know what happened?
Hold up. Wait a second. You mean that Hyatt actually thinks I have to look this up and figure out who this guy is? I don't care. He made me read the document. All right. Who's Aristotle? Let's go to YouTube. All right. Who's Aristotle? Too long, too long, too long, too long. Aha. A minute. Let's check this out. Oh boy, clock. Alright. Here we go.
Aristotle is perhaps the most well-known philosopher ever, and for good
Heck
reason.
no.
His teacher was Plato, and he
Boring.
taught Alexander the Great.
Who's Plato?
Despite Plato's influence, Aristotle shifted from
What are you
Platonism
talking about, dude?
to
I
empiricism
don't get it.
later in life.
Epicureanism.
As an
What is that?
empiricist, Aristotle made
I'm
great
done. I'm out.
advances in the field.
Let's try this again. Aristotle in 2 minutes. Alright. Fast enough. See what this has got for us.
Because Aristotle's
All right.
life was immediately followed by the Alexandrian conquest, then the Roman conquest, then
Uh-huh.
the Greek conquest, then the Dark Ages, no other philosopher came anywhere close to matching Aristotle's status for over 1,000 years. He was also incredibly efficient, as unlike most philosophers who specialize in a narrower field of
So
thought,
what?
Aristotle is well known for his work on
Uh-huh.
ethics, that is, for metaphysics, political theory, rhetoric,
all
literary
right,
theory,
man.
medicine,
That's,
theology, and
impressive.
science.
I
It
get
says
it.
that he knew more in his lifetime than anyone who ever lived before or since, although to be fair, he did cheat a lot, as many of his statements
Okay.
turned out to be false in such a way as could be corrected if Aristotle had simply looked. For example, that flies have 4 legs and that women have fewer
get it,
teeth
he's
than
impressive.
men. Nevertheless, Aristotle can at least be credited with the invention of formal logic, possibly the most valuable invention of all time, if also the simplest. Aristotle devised a form of deductive logic known as the syllogism, which is a way of figuring out new information from previously verified facts.
In purpose, it's literally about the purpose of the source. Why was it created? Who was the audience? Is the purpose clear or hidden? Is the information about facts or opinions? Is it neutral or biased towards a specific point of view? In content, you're supposed to point out what the source is literally telling you, even if you know it's not true. What is the source literally telling you? What information do we get directly from this source? These first 3 sections are about making observations about the source. The last 2 are where it gets interesting, because we get to judge the source. In value, you're supposed to judge how useful the source is to actually answer the question. Can we trust this source? Do we know where the source comes from and any ulterior motives it may have to say what it's saying? Is the source related to the question? Is the information reviewed or verified? Finally, in limitations, you're supposed to talk about what this source is missing to actually answer the question. What parts of the source may be unreliable? Is it biased? Towards whom? Is the source missing an important piece of information or an important perspective? Finally, when you're done with your OPCVL, you should be able to come up with a conclusion as to how useful the source is to answer the question. And this should give you clues as to what other kinds of sources you need to get closer to answering the question. Fun fact, this entire analysis happens way before you're supposed to answer the question. Sure, it's long, but it gets easier with practice, and that's what we're doing here. Now go on, do as many OPCVLs as you want, especially if you're on Facebook or Twitter.
Okay, now that we've had that quick refresher on OPCVL, we want to go into what our assessment is for today. So what are we going to do? You should use the resource that you were using yesterday, so Aristotle or Locke. You used to just write on each piece of that. That's not what we're going to do now. So if you go down to where it says organization, 2 short paragraphs, one on V and one on L with reference to OPC in each. So what you want to do is bring in pieces of the origin, purpose, and content into evaluating the entire source itself. So you'll have 2 different paragraphs. Again, the first paragraph on the value, bringing in those other 3 pieces as evidence, and then one on the limitations. Okay. Now, your guiding question, why you're looking at this source, or the entire guiding question for the week is, what is the power and purpose of government? So both these articles should be leaning towards those things. So what are they saying about what is the power and purpose of government in this document? So using OPVL, evaluate the resource that you looked at yesterday on this purpose. Those 2 paragraphs are due tomorrow. Now, you should have been able to use all of your resources from the week to help you out on this, and should be able to use the notes that you created yesterday to help you fill out this OPCVL. If they don't help you with that, then that's a learner for the future. How can you take notes on those documents that help you with this piece going forward? Now, you might have to do some outside research. So if you don't know anything about John Locke and two treatises or Aristotle and politics, you might have to go do a little bit of research to figure out the origins of those particular documents. Now, John Locke's, because he spoke English, is a primary document. However, Aristotle, being Greek, speaks Latin. Therefore, his document is translated, so it is not a primary document. Period. All right. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you later.
Right now, I just need you to get real loose. Get comfortable. Grab your loved ones, or grab your love partner. And if you're by yourself, no worries. Just follow after me. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin